Hey, can you dim some of these lights so you can see the screens better? Because I depend on my pictures. I'm live? Okay, guys, I'm live. Okay, so I was asked to speak on predators and predation, and so I'm going to just go over a few things. If you have any questions, just raise your hand, ask, shout at me, scream, and then bring me a cup of coffee with half and half. Thank you. Okay, so the major question is, why? Why do we even bother to think about predation? I mean, other than somebody's, going to get in with our goats or our sheep. They also bother cattle. Where I live, we have pumas, we have black mountain lions, we have bear, we've got red wolves. We have a lot of different stuff that's, moving in. And so we got to really think about, why are we thinking about it? Even on a nice day, you get the nice rainbow, you're hiking down along the Cumberland River, not even thinking about anything. And all of a sudden you see this stuff in the road and you go, wow, the last time I saw that, it was like rumen fluid. I was doing an analysis of what they could be eating. What plants are they picking? What's going on? And then all of a sudden you go around the corner and you see some devastation. And now you have to learn how to look at the different animals that have been slaughtered by predators to know what predators you have. So this is domestic dogs that the neighbors they let out to tinkle and poop after they get home from work, and then you find this the next day. And so now you need to know the value of this animal, and we're going to really get into that, because they'll just look at this as, uh-oh, it's just a dead animal. Well, this goat happens to be 4.5 years old. He's been on a wether. He's been on a livestock browsing project, land cleaning, making money. So now you have to know, how many more years does this animal have to work, and how much money am I going to lose by having lost this animal? Other than the fact that you got to go get your side-by-side, pick him up, put him in the back, and bury him. So then you're looking around and you see a little kid under a tree and you go, man, what happened to that little bugger? And you start looking and you notice how this piece of skin is gone. It's like, what happened? And then you look back here and you can see this animal came out of a tree, jumped on this little goat, grabbed the skin, twisted it, and when you twist skin, if you're a mountain lion or a big cat, you can twist that skin and it's just like turning a doorknob. It pops right out, and you can tell it was a cat because that's where it digs in. It digs in the back, pushes it under so that the animal can't get away, and now it's hanging on to that piece of skin. Okay, so how do we do skin grafts? That's my next question. So I started looking at this animal, and the problem was, here's the scapula, and you can look right down in here, and we could see the lungs going and the heartbeat. But there was no way that you could there was no skin here to patch. So made a phone call, and this little guy was dinner for somebody. This is a doe that had been attacked by a couple of Rottweilers and a pit bull. And don't think I'm weird and I go around I help people out and just trying to find out, and they let me take pictures. Okay, so now we know how old the doe is. We know that she was pregnant, because we need these pictures for the insurance company. They're not happy when they get these in the mail and they open their computer and it's like, poof, there they are. So we had to know how old the doe was, how long she'd been in the herd, and what her records were. So you have to send in the records. The doe is like 3 or 4 years old, and you know she's going to live until she's at least 10 or 11 because you have all the records on her mom. You have the records on her the progeny from that doe and cousins and aunties. So you know the life expectancy of this doe. When you sue your neighbor, you don't sue for the loss of that animal or the 2 kids. You sue for her production that you're losing over the years. Now remember, she's got twins, right? So how much are these twins going to cost you over a 10 or 11 year span? Now you're looking at $15,000 to $20,000. So if somebody offers you $800 to $1,000 for this problem, you tell them, that chance, I'm calling my lawyer. And then tell them to call me and I'll figure it out for them.
Just curious, that previous slide, do you know why that the lion didn't go ahead and just finish and devour that little kid?
Guard dogs. Yeah, there's 4 dogs in this area. But it's pretty steep, a lot of down timber. And, you know, cats sit up in trees and, you know, they're real quiet. You'll see your dogs walking around looking up. If they're, like my dogs are from mountain lion country, from the Sierra Nevadas. So my dogs will be looking up in the trees. And if you see your dog looking up, you better be looking up too. So, yeah, that's what happened with this one. Okay, so now you know how to figure out your insurance. So then you're walking around your pasture and you see a doe and she keeps pushing this little kid like, what's going on? And you can tell by, this is the iodine that went on the navel. So what happened here? You're looking at the kid, it looks perfectly fine. You're gonna pick up the little kid, put him on the back of your pickup, and you're just looking at him, but he looks perfectly fine until you look even closer, and here you've got some teeth marks, you've got some claw marks. This was a bobcat kill. So you need to know what predators you have. That'll help tell you what livestock guardian breed you need, and it will also help you in knowing that you never just run 1 dog. You always have 2, hopefully 3, and when you kid, you double dog, which means if you're running 3 dogs, now you're running 6. So this is an accident that happened along the Duck River. This man had 23 pregnant animals, all getting ready to have their young. And he calls me up and he said, I have deads. I said, okay, I'll drive down and we'll try and see what happened. Well, what happened here is, it's called 1 dog. They had 1 livestock guardian dog in a flock of 23 individuals. Now, when you have dogs that cross the Cumberland or the Duck River, they swim across, and they hit this mob, what happens to the mob? It splits. So now you've got individuals over here, you've got individuals over there. What's the dog gonna do? He's supposed to protect his livestock. He's bred for that. He's gonna go here, he's gonna go there. But when you're trying to fight 3 big dogs, you end up with a whole bunch of dead animals. And these are just some of the ones. The other ones were so scared, they jumped in the pond and drowned. So what is the next problem is, how much money did this man lose? He's getting ready to have young stock. He's now got all his dead animals. That's all he had was 23. Another major thing is long-term herd stress. When you get hit by some predators in your whole mob, what happens is you've got them out browsing or grazing, And now they just stick in a mob. They're moving like one animal. So you've got a couple out there that are trying to maybe be in the front, but they really want to be in the back. They're knocking the vegetation down. They're pooping, they're peeing, and what are they eating? So now we have a problem with the herd stress. So that's your consumption pattern changes. And the effect on the guardian. This man had bought this dog for me, and I tried to convince him, please buy 2 dogs. I'll never need 2 dogs. I said, okay, I didn't sell him these sheep. I'm just like, okay. So what I ended up doing is I loaned him 2 mature dogs. I took his dog and I treated it like a puppy. I had to rebuild the total confidence in that dog. So I put his dog with 2 of my mature dogs that were really good killing machines, and that dog served as a backup. It took me 6 months before that dog ever stepped out in front of the dogs he was with. So when I sent him back to this gentleman, he ended up buying 2 younger dogs. So you've got to try and convince. I basically have given up convincing people. I just ask them, well, if you're into burying stuff, okay. What do you think happened to this gentleman's wife? She has a cot. She has a 30-30. Does she bother going home to cook dinner or be with her family? No, she's sleeping on the Duck River shooting dogs. And because they're all floating down the duck, who's going to find them or know where they came from? Okay, so she eventually got over that, but it took her quite a while. Okay, mostly the concept of even looking at these dogs is they really have to be aggressive to predators. You see them, they're kind of laying around, they might have one eye open. Their ears are always listening. If you look at them on how they lay, how their eyes are, where their ears are, and you very rarely see them if they're laying down with their mouth shut. Their mouth is cracked and it's just ready to kill, because you have snakes coming by and other kinds of small rodents that they're going to take care of. They really have to stay with their stock. They've got to show a lot of respect, and we're going to get into respect. And they have to be versatile for the environment. If you've got blackberries, you've got rose bushes, you definitely don't want a dog with long hair, like a Great Pyrenean or a Commodore, Maremma. You've got to know what your vegetation is so that you're not out there with a pair of scissors cutting your dog out of the bushes. Also, even if you have pasture, do you have grasses with awns on them? Because if you have Pyreneans and Commodores have webbed feet because they're swimmers. Now you've got the awns getting in their web, and you've got to get them picked out before they start traveling up the blood system. So we just thought about, okay, what type of predators do we have? So that's going to help with how you're going to pick your dog. Climate. I don't like I used to raise Great Pyreneans. My Pyreneans came from New Zealand and Canada, and they all had real tight fiber, but they didn't do well in Tennessee because it was too hot, and they start getting hot spots, and they'll pick at their fiber, and then they get these big raw spots going. And I just discussed vegetation and also genetics. That's really an important one to look at. You just don't want to go buy a pup or a dog from someone that has maybe 2 goats and a whole bunch of dogs in their backyard. You want to go and you want to see the dam and the sire out working. And if they tell you, well, you got to put these booties on because I'm biosecure and we're going to walk, even if you have to do 2 miles, you go and see the dogs that you're buying. You want to make sure that they're really out there working. And if you've never had a dog, please don't buy a puppy. People just love puppies. Their kids love puppies. And the next thing you know, on your porch swing, you have a puppy that doesn't want to leave. So I don't even sell my dogs unless I sell a dog to somebody that's bought dogs from me before. They got to buy a mature dog. My pups don't go until they're 6 or 8 months old. Because if they bring them back and say this dog doesn't work, no, you didn't work right. Don't blame the dog. So these are just some of your predators. If you ever see this guy live, I don't know what happened to my little pointer here. They're pretty intimidating. I worked in the Sierra Nevadas for a long time for a big timber company. And one day I always carry my 30-30, and I usually had 1 or 2 dogs. I had a mob of 750 wethers up there, and they had 12 dogs guarding them. And we're walking along, and I see the dogs are sitting by this tree. I get over there, and I'm thinking, okay, they're looking up, my gun is up, and I actually got to see a bear's butthole. And I went, okay, everybody, we're going somewhere else. So now when you do browsing projects, not only do you have the pen where you are, you have your next pen set up so that you can just move into there, and you have your next one that you've just finished putting up. So a lot of this just evolves around the whole process of keeping these dogs busy and working. I hate these guys. I want to have a dog that when they see them sitting on an old railroad tie, they're like lunch. And they're going to stay there until these guys disappear. Here's another interesting one. If you have some really good mature dogs and you're kidding, you'll see one of your does might be thinking about having a kid, and you see your dog kind of laying next to her. And you think, man, I don't let my dogs clean kids up, and I don't let them eat after birth. So you'll see this dog laying there, and you're thinking, uh-oh, they forgot how they're trained. Well, guess what? If you're real quiet and you're kind of hiding behind a tree, you'll see the buzzards flying around. The dog is just waiting for these buzzards to land, and then all you see is poop and feathers just flying because, good boy, you got yourself a bird. You get to stay in my group. Here's some other predators. Fire ants. If you have fire ants, please don't even kid nearby, because they will get on the kids and they'll kill those little kids. Snakes are real. I had a doe one time, this happened on my farm. She died, and I'm thinking, how could she die? She was healthy, she had 2 little kids, and so to get her out of this gully, I had to get my 4-wheeler and pull her back up. And I'm looking and looking at her, and I thought, well, I don't see anything on this side. And when I went to roll her over, she had millions of little snake bites. And so, yes, I lost her. We're going to talk about humans a little later. We have all different kinds of breeds. There's, hundreds of breeds of dogs, and it's going to depend on your predators, and talk to people that have the different dogs. I had a friend in California that raised Kuzvas. They're Russian dogs, and they kill humans. What do you want to kill? You have to pick your dogs carefully. The police have to know that you've got dogs. You've got to have your signs up and let all your neighbors know that you have dogs, and please don't have your little kids riding by on their bicycle, screaming, "Hi, doggy," and getting your dogs all cranked up. This seems to be a kind of a popular dog. These guys work up in the mountains. Look at the heavy fiber on this dog. We had a lot of snow, 6 to 8 feet up in the Sierras, got really cold. This guy came, he got shaved, and when he passed away, I've never raised any Pierce since, because that fiber is a lot of work. These dogs that have this intense fiber, there is a woman in New Zealand that makes sweaters out of that fiber. She combs the hair, cleans the hair with rainwater, and will knit you a doggy sweater. These, I really like the Kangals. They're a totally different kind of dog. They're a breed of their own. They are very aggressive, but they're very peaceful at the same time, if they know you, or if you are with the person that comes to your farm. If somebody decides to come into your farm and you think you've got this dog fenced, give it up. They can clear 8 feet. And so you better have some really good signs if you're going to raise Kangals. They're also large acreage dogs. You need 100, 400, 500 acres just to run these dogs, and they fight in packs. So I've raised these dogs. I've raised them as packs. Usually three to a pack is pretty good. And they go back out to Wyoming, Idaho, Nevada, Montana. And they're very fast dogs. He just looks like he's just hanging out until he really looks at you. This dog will burn a hole through you with his eyes. And if you're feeling burned, you better be hoping that whoever owns this dog is right beside you. These are some little Kangal pups, kind of in the winter. This is portable polywire. They're all broke to electric, and you always keep your pups with goats that are bigger than they are, because you know, this goat's kind of looking here, and see this eye? She's kind of looking at this little pup right here. Like, how close are you going to get? Because when you get within 5 inches, I'm whacking your head. And so it's just really interesting to see how these goats will train all these little pups. It's kind of good entertainment for me, you know. Here's a really good, I've had this pup for many years, but you can just look at this face and how they look at you, and you can see he's really calm. His tail is down. It's not in the wheel. It's not up over his back. So he's just looking at me going, yeah, hurry up. I'm out of here. This is the Akbash. I raised quite a few Akbash. I really like this. My Akbash are from Canada. And we're going to look at a couple of the Canadian different types of Akbash. I'm running along a river right now, and I've got four of these dogs down there, and they're all between 3 and 6 years old, and they work really well together. And these are 2 different body types. This dog is one of the, you know, she's a heavy dog. She's really built. And then you've got, so she comes in, she's the backup. The heavier dogs are the backup. And these 2 guys are the speedsters. They're like over the timber, down through the woods, down a gully and up. And they're getting in there, and then you've got your backup dogs that are coming in to work with these dogs. Dogs are really interesting if you really get into them on how they work and how they look at each other. And everybody's got a different job. And you've got it, once you establish a team, you keep that team together. Now you can add a pup, and then it'll be interesting as to which dog the pup picks out to become a team member. The Anatolian, this is Tommy Van's dog in Knoxville. He has a couple. He really likes his Anatolians. I do too. I've had a couple, and they're kind of in the class of the Akbash, you know, in the way they look at their wards that they're protecting. And you've got when you're looking at these dogs, you've got your guardian dog that's always on the perimeter, you've got somebody inside that's working, and then you've got the real quiet one that's laying out with the goats with just one eye open, getting ready to kill something. This dog is called a Dogo Argentino. Anybody have wild pigs? You have wild pigs? Anybody else have wild pigs? This dog is bred specifically to kill pigs. We used him in Hawaii. On the ranch I lived on, we killed 300 in 1 year because we have a lot of wild pigs there. They like to come around during kidding time. They'll pull those little kids right out from the doe as they're trying to have kids. They'll chase the little kids down. And so we use these dogos. And then here's what happens is, here's your wild pig. And we also use the Catahoulas. We use the big mouth curs. And then these dogs come in and they can crush this pig's skull because their jaws, their mouth opens so wide, and when their jaws come down, it just shatters the bone. So this is wild pig devastation. And once these, guys are killed, we go back in and pick them up, and we had somebody that would take them, clean them, and all of this meat that we killed on the ranch went to impoverished families within the community of Pahala. So they didn't mind the dogs at all. This is just some research data that was done by Mr. Woodruff. He was in Nevada. I would really have loved to have had this job, where he went around to all these different ranches and looked at the different breeds of dogs, and did they stay, and his main thing was sheep. And did they stay with the sheep? What percentage of the time did they stay with the sheep? And did they, some of them didn't even want to stay with the sheep. Then how effective were they? And when I started looking at the numbers of dogs that they looked at, and I started deciding if I really wanted to, pursue ACBASH or what I wanted to pursue, I really looked at this data real close. He did run into some Kuzvas, because once you're in Nevada, that's pretty big open country. I really like Nevada, back up into the ranches. And how aggressive are they? And this is where I sort of got into the ACBASH, the Anatolians, and I never raised Kuzvas, but you have to look at how effective they are. You want a dog that, if there's predators out there, the Great Pyrenees and some of the Maramas and some of the other dogs will just sit there and go, maybe you should just stay away. You want a dog that walks up to the fence very calmly and says, come here, I'm going to kill you. I'm really a nice person, okay? I really am. For me, they're an insurance policy for my business. And that's how I write them off on my taxes. They're insurance. And then how economic are they? And that one you have to figure out for yourself, all your shots, how much dog food do they eat in a month. We figured out, Dr. Fennewold and I, we sat down and we did a little economic study on dogs, and we figured out a dog cost me $700 a year. Because here you've got to look at heart meds, we look at tick and fleas, we look at rabies shots, and some of the other shots we have to give. And then you've got your puppies added in there. And puppies are pretty expensive by the time you get done giving them all their shots and spending time with them. Because you saw some pups. Once my pups get a little older, I start splitting them up, because I don't want my dogs to get stuck on one mob of goats. I want it so if I need power, I can go pull the dog out from here and give power over there, and maybe put another pup in behind this dog. So you've got to, you're always moving these dogs around. You're breaking them to electric fence. You're breaking them to other dogs. Down timber. You've got to give them all these experiences so they can actually function. If I just mentioned, if you're going to select dogs to breed, if you've never had a dog, you're better off just buying a neutered or a spayed older dog and learning about that dog. How does the dog think? How does it work? How does it talk? Every dog has a different language that it's speaking to all his buddies. And you should be able to be sitting in your field and hear a dog bark and go, okay, that's number 526, and this is what the problem is, because that dog will tell you. So you really have to tune into your dogs and make sure whoever you buy these guys from, that they've done their hips, because they're big dogs. Also, osteochondroitis, that's the change of cartilage in the shoulders. And so if you do the official OFAs, you do the OCDs, you might as well do the spinal column. That just costs you like $210 to do it on a breeding dog. You're not going to do it on all your dogs unless you want to, but on your breeding dog. When you go to pick puppies, this bitch has whelped out. Here's all her little pups. So that when these little pups open their eyes, they're going to see some big legs. They're going to think their whole world is ending, because they're going to see these goat feet and they're going to be looking up. And to them, the goats are probably monsters. But at least they get to be in observance of the does when they're out and they're whelping. And then you're looking at these little guys here. Which little pup would you pick? The one on the left or the one on the right? If you're going to go out and pick a pup. Come on, just speak up. Layla, who are you going to pick? The left one? Oh, this guy? Yes. No. That's not the guy you want to pick. You want to pick this little guy right here. Why? Because you're not relevant to him. He could care less that you're there. And he's letting you know, don't bother me, don't look at me, because when I grow up, right there I am. Now, is he looking at you? No. You're not relevant in his cause. All you are is a feed bag. And so he's this little pup that was down here that looked like a little cutie pie. This little fella. Here he is when he's grown up, and he's with a whole group of, I don't know how many pups are in here, but there's quite a few pups. But this little guy, he got to stay on my farm. Here's some of the Kangal pups. And remember I told you, you always keep them with goats that are bigger than they are. And then you got to look at the pups. How are you going to pick a pup out of this mob? Well, look at this little pup right here. He's already eyed this goat. He's getting ready to move through here toward the front. His tail's up in the wheel. And look at how he's standing on those feet. He's got those feet ready so that if anything happens, he's gone. He's not wasting any time getting his little feet together under him. All his little buddies are kind of coming along, but this little pup is hanging. And here he is again. He's getting ready. I mean, he's with his buddies. He's got a little buddy coming, so you're kind of also watching this guy, but your eye is really on this little pup. Once again, they're with animals that are bigger than they are. This is my little dog training fence, just portable poly wire, and it's got, what is it, five lines. The important part about this is it's between 8.5 and 9.6 kilovolts. Because if you watch little pups, when they walk up to a fence, they're trying to focus on that fence line, and all of a sudden you'll see their little eyes kind of cross, and wham, that electric gets them. They will never approach an electric fence again. They'll stay back. They're going to go, okay, it's a hot one. These are the two pups that you just saw when I said this is the one I would pick, and then I might think about his buddy. Well, these guys decided that they were going to fight. And I thought, I can let them fight. They might get hurt. Or I can stick them in this cage, and they can't really fight because there's no room for them to move. So I made them eat out of the same pan. They had to drink out of the same bucket. And when they finally decided that they were not going to fight anymore, they went off to work together, and they worked great as a team. Partnership and teamwork is real important. See how these guys are laying back to back, and they're, you know, one's looking west, the other one's east. Somebody's got their head up. Have to be totally respectful. This dog's just there. That goat's going to eat all the way around the dog. Your goats have to trust your dogs. That's the main secret there. These guys are just jumping on this dog, and the dog's looking at them like, please give me a break. Get these kids out of here. This is some work that I did up in the Sierra Nevadas. There's 12 major livestock guardian dogs in here. This is a group of all castrated males. We're doing land cleaning. That's where you make your most money, is on your castrated males, because they, you know, as they bark, they also wear their teeth out. And if you're using females, that means you get broken mouths at between 4 and 5 years old. But these guys, they can bark and bark for till they're 5 or 6. Then we'll put them in a little pen area, feed them up on a little bit of really nice alfalfa hay. They go to a Jamaican market in Florida. So we kind of do double whammy on these guys. But there's 750 of them here getting ready to be loaded out. You notice that our panels are metal. That's because we have fire danger. It takes pretty much heat to melt this metal, but we want to be way out of their way before that fire comes in. If you have an experienced mob, this is all I do, is I just put my trailer out there with the pups in there, and everybody else can walk by. You can see a dog walking by here. The goats have already checked them out. Once everybody's been checked out, then we just let them go. And then we do the same thing if we're just putting panels up against the trees. If you have goats that have never been around dogs, you've got to put your dogs and the goats in a secure corral area, and you divide it up, and you kind of let them kind of get together across the fence. But one of the things you have to remember is they're still going to stay apart for a little bit. The dogs are going to lay along the fence, but it's going to take the goats a little while. And then you slowly open up that area and let the dogs and goats be in that area, but don't start food fights. You got to feed them in different places. Don't do anything at night. You always do everything in the morning. That way, if you have a wreck, you can fix it. This is over here in Bristol. This is Chris Wilson's dog with her cattle. This is on Greg Brand's farm. We are introducing some dogs in here to his cattle at the same time we're introducing goats. And you can kind of see where everybody's like, we're staying on our own side here. But now, if you look at his farm, it's everybody's all together. And here they are all together. We've got a dog, a donkey. His daughter's horse is in here somewhere. And we've got some goats. Here's some sheep in here. So he just, and there's even a couple of cows. So this is just kind of like a hodgepodge of livestock. After you spent time, then you can start running all of these animals together. These are some of my favorite pictures, being able to go out to the ranch. This is in Trousdale County, with just the sheep are all out in the pasture. You can see how peaceful they are. And this dog, there's actually 4 or 5 dogs here. And they're just peaceful. They're sitting there, just kind of, you know, watching around. He's got a couple other dogs that are the perimeter dogs. So you just kind of have to. These are my working dogs. I used to have. I still have Border Collie, but these were some of my dogs that I used up in the woods. This happens to be a hunt-away. This is a tracking dog, and if you ever lose your goats, Eric, I know they weren't yours. If you ever lose your goats, what you do is you take this hunt-away. This is a very trained dog. I paid $2,500 for her. It was the best money I ever spent, because I worked in the Sierra Nevadas. We had helicopters flying over, and the goats don't know where that noise is coming from. And so you put this dog out where the goats got out, and you tell her, look. And you'll hear her woofing and woofing and woofing, and she keeps going and going and going. And all of a sudden, it'll be real quiet, and then you'll hear this howl. It's like she found them. And so she knows then she'll start bringing them back to you. And as soon as they get where I can, you know, hear them a little bit coming, then you send out the Border Collies to help her out. And you're counting your goats with your little meter, and you go, oop, you're missing 56. And you send her back out, and she goes hunt for them. I used to ride my horse up there. I gave that up. This is at Chris Wilson's again. Here's her dog that was guarding cattle. She's got her Border Collies coming down, working with her livestock guardian dogs. And that's another introduction. You can teach these dogs they can respect each other. They each have their own job, and that's why they work well together. You know, the Border Collies are herding the sheep, and a lot of times you'll just find the working dogs scattered in the mob, and all you'll see is this tail curled up. What time is it? Pardon? 10 to 10, okay. This is just my health protocol, because I'm pretty adamant about, you know, keeping my no parvo, my 7 ways. I do leptospirosis because I have deer on my farm. I microchip all my goats, or I microchip my goats too, but I microchip my dogs. And then we can also check them for Lyme. There's Lyme disease. These are tick-borne diseases. There's Lyme, there's Ehrlichia, there's Rocky Mountain spotted fever. What else? Oh, there's Asian tick fever, there's Lone Star. But you can pull blood, take it into your vet, if you have a good vet to work with like I do, and they can run it. And sometimes they'll send it out to the lab, and they put it under my name, and it came back to my vet, and they wanted to know if the dog was still alive, because they thought it was human blood that was coming in. I'm like, yeah, I'm perfectly fine. Once we now have 3-year rabies vaccinations. When you take your dog to the vet, any vets here before I tell a little story? Okay, make sure you tell them you want you have to have your first vaccination, then you can get the 3-year. But don't let them tell you you can't, because they'll make $48 on you every year. Get the 3-year. These are just a few of the other ones that, especially their third eyelid. If you look at dogs, they've got a really big third eyelid. And if you see them watering, you just kind of take a Q-tip and put it in one corner of the eye with some saline on it. And you can, if you push down, their eyelid will come across. You can go under the eyelid and you can pull all the junk back out. This is a dog. If you're doing puppies, little puppies have sharp claws, and if you do, so we had to take care of the mom. If you don't want these pups to know that you're a human, they had this little house to hang out, and then I'd drop their little food pans down, and they didn't ever know. She would come by and stand over them and then drink their milk, or their little pups could drink their milk. This is having 12 big dogs up in the forest. They each have their own feeder. They will eat out of their own feeder, so don't think you can take a feeder and put it somewhere else. They know their feeder. Nutrition is really important, so you can't overfeed your little pups. I mean, their bones grow really fast, and so you've got to really look at the food that you're feeding these little guys. So nutrition is really important. We talked about the diseases. Some people like donkeys. You have to remember, donkeys are not nocturnal. Predators are nocturnal. They're going to kill at night. These guys sleep during the night. They don't like change. So if you put a buck in there, that's change. So he's going to be picking on that buck. Also, when they have kids, they like to pick on the little kids. And I always looked at these llamas as they've got the greatest neck for a good grab. I'm just not into llamas, I'm sorry. This was a really interesting human change. This is an emu, and you can go up to the fence and you can pet this emu. He's really soft. And then you decide, hey man, there's goats back here. We'd like to get one and eat it. So the thieves crawl over the fence. Well, the dog's just kind of there. The ostrich, he's just kind of looking. And so you have a couple of people crawl over the fence. Well, guess what happens? The emu gets out of the way, and the ostrich pounds the crap out of him with his feet, beats him with his head. You call 911 and you got two thieves. That's how we take care of humans. This has to say livestock guardian on duty or on site. If it says guard dogs, Rottweilers, Pits, all those other dogs, German Shepherds, people use them as guardians. It has to say livestock guardian on duty. This woman lives out in the country, and she fenced in some acreage, and you notice there's 2 goats here. There's 2 dogs, and her 2 little boys, each one has his own goat. He has his own dog. These kids are out playing all day while she's in her house working. And she doesn't even think about how safe they are because they've got their dogs to take care of them. So yeah, you can have guard dogs specifically tuned into your kids. Here's the problem. If anything happens to one of these kids, you better hope their parents are there, because if the EMTs show up, those dogs will attack them because the EMTs don't belong there. And you have a little kid that's screaming. So if the parents are there, you're okay. So you have to be real careful when you want to bond. Anybody have any questions before I cut you loose to go to the bathroom? Yes.
Do you have to contend with meningeal worm much by doing this strap grazing?
Do I have to contend with meningeal worm?
Yeah.
Yeah, with the deer and the snails. Yeah. But not in the dogs.
You just identify an animal that's got it and treat that? Or?
You have to identify the animal that has meningeal worm before it has any symptoms of meningeal worm. Because if it crosses the barrier, the spinal column barrier, you lose them. So as soon as you see a goat that kind of is thinking about, do I really want to take this step like that? And I'm going to drag this leg a little bit like that? You better be hopping on it to treat them. Yeah. Do you want the non-veterinarian approved treatment?
Yes.
I am not a vet. The endomeningeal worm is, you can use Dectomax, and what you do is, if this is their spinal column, you stay 1.5 inches away and you sub-Q Dectomax, double the dose. And then the next day you can put it over here or down here. You do it about 3 times, they'll be fine. If it happens to come back, then you can do 1 repeat on the Dectomax, and then you just overdose them with Safeguard, big time. Yeah, I had 3 this year. They all kitted fine. They're all out there whacking bushes. But the trick is get it before it gets them. Because if you don't, then, you know, you're going to lose. You have to shout at me.
Your talk was wonderful. I was wanting to ask about wild pigs. What gives you the idea that you have wild pigs around the pool? They digging under the fences. What gives you?
Oh, wild pigs?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they'll rip up your fences. They'll root. Oh, I guess I'm not standing on my. They root around. You'll find somebody. You might have a goat that's limping, and then when you go to patch it up, you'll figure out that it's all crushed bone, because when they crush with those jaws, they shatter the bone, and so there's no way to cast that leg. But yeah, we had an amazing wild hog problem in Hawaii. And I know that in eastern Tennessee they have wild pigs too.
How do you train your dogs not to get into the placenta?
Not to do what?
How do you train your dogs not to eat placenta?
You pick it up.
What if, I mean, they're running with them, what if they have them at night and you're not down there and it's already gone? I mean.
I don't have goats that kid at night.
Oh.
And that depends on how you manage them during the morning. If you have them on the most brush they can eat during the morning, they'll kid between 3 and 6 or 7 o'clock. And they won't kid until the next day. That's one of my little secrets. It'll cost you 50 cents. Oh, yeah. I learned that working on a cattle ranch, taking care of cows, because they have a diurnal pattern in their whole body. It's up and down and up and down. So you have to max out the up, because they're going to kid when it comes down. So you just spend time out there. You just, you know, I've only done this for like 40 years. It only took me 39 to put it together. Anybody else have any questions? You also have to learn how to think like a dog. And then you will find out that they're smarter than you are anyway. Oh, well. Okay, well, if you don't have any more questions, I'm going to go give Mr. Kimmer a hug, and then I'll give Linda one. But thank you. When you come